Earth was no longer alone. After decades of silence and space, the stars finally spoke back. The Yelari arrived not with weapons, but with science. They were tall, pale blue beings with strong bodies, sharp eyes, and minds far more advanced than any human could imagine. But they weren't here to conquer. They wanted peace, knowledge, and something more. The Earth-Yelari Treaty was signed after years of meetings, translations, and tense discussions. One of the agreements was the Cultural Coexistence Program, a chance for humans and Yelari to live together, to learn from each other, to grow as one. Eli Walker was not a soldier or a scientist. He was a quiet engineering student from Michigan, studying at a university near Chicago. He had no special talents, no strong opinions about aliens. What he did have was a problem. He couldn't afford rent. When he saw the Cultural Coexistence Program offered free housing for students, he applied immediately. No questions, no second thoughts. It sounded simple. Share a room, study hard, save money. But when the transport shuttle dropped him off at the new housing facility, nothing felt simple anymore. The room was clean, cold, and filled with a strange scent. Not bad, just different, like metal and flowers. Eli set down his bag and looked around. One bed on each side, one table in the center, and one large window showing the stars above. Then he heard footsteps, heavy, slow, measured. He turned and saw her for the first time. Va. She stood almost 7 feet tall. Her skin was a pale blue with silver lines running along her arms like veins. Her eyes were a deep violet, glowing softly in the dim light. She wore a dark suit with a strange symbol on her chest. She did not smile. She did not blink. She stared. "You are the human," she said. Eli nodded, unsure what else to do. "You are Eli Walker." He nodded again. Va stepped closer and looked at him the way a scientist might look at a new specimen. Her gaze was not cruel, but cold, curious, calculating. "I will record your behavior," she said, "for research." Eli gave a weak smile. Sure. Just don't fill me in the shower." She tilted her head, confused. "Shower, clean, private," he explained. Va nodded slowly. She tapped a device on her wrist, and a small red light appeared above her shoulder. It began recording. That was day 1. The next few days were strange. Vala followed Eli everywhere, not physically, but with small floating drones she controlled through her wrist device. One in the kitchen, one near the bathroom, one floating over his bed. She asked many questions about sleep cycles, digestion, sweat, why humans cry when they're sad, why they laugh even when something hurts. Eli tried to answer, but it was never enough. She wanted details, data, emotion. She even asked how human reproduction worked in full detail. He gave her a basic explanation. Embarrassed, blushing, she listened without emotion. Then she asked why humans hold hands, why they kiss, why they form bonds. Eli said it wasn't just biology, it was something deeper, something called love. She blinked. For the first time, her expression changed. "Love," she repeated. "We do not have that." Then she walked away. At night, Eli would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep easily. The red recording light hovered silently above him, watching, blinking. One night, he opened his eyes around 2 in the morning, and Vala was standing beside his bed, just standing, watching him. He jumped in fear, his heart racing. "What are you doing?" She looked calm. "I was observing your sleep posture. Your breathing changed during a dream. It was fascinating." He sat up, breathing hard. "Could you maybe not do that? It's creepy." She nodded. "I apologize. I will try to adjust my behavior." Eli laid back down, trying to slow his heartbeat. Vala stepped away and returned to her side of the room. The next morning, he woke up to the smell of something burning. He walked into the kitchen to find Vala, trying to cook eggs. They were black, smoking dot. She looked up. I saw this in a human video. A mating ritual often begins with breakfast. Eli rubbed his eyes. It's not a ritual. It's just kindness. She looked thoughtful. I see. And after kindness, comes touch. Eli didn't answer. Vela stepped closer. She looked him in the eyes, serious and calm. Would you like to breed now? The room went silent. Eli's mouth opened, but no words came out. She waited, still holding the burnt eggs in one hand. Outside the window, the stars kept shining. Inside the room, the air turned cold. Vela tilted her head. I am ready to learn, and the screen fades to black. Eli stared at her, frozen. The question echoed in his mind, not because of what she said, but how she said it. Calm, cold, like she was reading a menu. Like breeding was just another daily task. He stepped back slowly, hands up. No, Vala, that's not how it works. Not for us. She blinked once, clearly confused. You said it begins with kindness, then with touch. I prepared food. I initiated the next step. Eli sat down at the table, his heart still racing. He took a deep breath. Look, breeding isn't something we just ask for. Humans don't work that way. It's emotional. It's about feelings, trust, connection. Vala sat across from him. The burnt eggs between them let out a soft crackle of smoke. Explain this emotion, she said. Eli rubbed his forehead. It's not easy to explain. You feel something in your chest. You want to be close to someone, not just physically, but in every way. You want to share your world with them. It's not about reproduction. Not really. Vala listened carefully. On Yelari, she said, we select partners based on genetics, strength, intelligence, physical health. Love is not a factor. Eli gave a soft laugh. Sounds efficient, but also kinda sad. She nodded slowly. Beginning to understand why your species behaves differently. Your actions are guided by feelings, not function. He looked at her, and yours aren't. No, we are logical, efficient, but after living with you, I begin to see how chaotic emotion can be yet. It is not without value. Eli smiled, the tension fading just a little. Vela tilted her head again. Did I offend you with my question? He thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, just surprised me, that's all. But you have to understand something important. For humans, consent means everything. We don't do anything romantic, unless both people feel the same way, and they want it. She tapped her fingers against the table. I see, so your body and your mind must agree before action is taken. Exactly. Vala stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars. Her voice was quiet. I do not yet understand how to feel this connection, but I want to. Eli joined her at the window. He looked at her tall frame. Strong, sharp, alien. But something inside her was softening, changing. You don't have to rush, he said. Just be human for a while. You might feel something eventually. That night, Vala did not stand beside his bed. The red recording light was turned off. For the first time in days, Eli slept without fear. The next morning he woke up to music. Soft piano notes floated through the room. He followed the sound and found Vala sitting in front of his tablet, watching an old human film. Two people were dancing in the rain. They held each other. They kissed. Vela turned to him. I watched 12 romantic films overnight, I noted. Patterns, common themes, touch, eye contact, sacrifice, pain. Why does love hurt so often? Eli sat beside her. Because love is risky. You give someone the power to hurt you, and you trust that they won't. She nodded. That is, beautiful and terrifying. She paused, then said something unexpected. I would like to try dancing. Eli blinked now. Yes, in the kitchen. He stood slowly and offered his hand. She took it. Her fingers were long and cool. Her grip was firm, but not forceful. He placed one hand on her waist. She copied his movements, stiff and mechanical at first. Eli laughed gently. Relax. Feel the rhythm. Let the music guide you. Vala stared into his eyes. I do not yet feel rhythm, but I feel ... something. They swayed slowly. Her body moved awkwardly. His feet kept stepping on hers. But they didn't stop. And for a moment, the kitchen felt like a ballroom. Later that day, Vala began asking different kinds of questions, not about biology, but about memories. What was your first kiss like? Did your parents love each other? Have you ever felt heartbreak? Eli answered them all, not with science, but with stories. He told her about his high school crush, about the time he cried when his dog died, about the night he watched his mom leave and never come back. Va. Listened in silence. Then she said something strange. Your pain is beautiful. He looked at her, surprised. She added, it means you cared. On Yelari, we avoid pain. We end bonds before they hurt us, but that also means we never feel anything real. Eli didn't speak, he just nodded. That night, she turned off the lights and watched the stars again. He stood beside her. She asked, do you think humans in Yelari could ever fall in love? He answered softly, I think love doesn't care about species, only about hearts. Vala closed her eyes. If I had a heart, I think it would be beating faster now. Eli smiled, and for the first time, she smiled back. Not perfectly, not human, but real, and that made it beautiful. 3 weeks had passed since Vala asked the question. She hadn't brought it up again. She didn't watch him sleep. She didn't record him anymore. But Eli noticed something else. She had started watching people, not just through screens or documentaries. She went outside, sat on park benches, observed couples holding hands, watched children laugh, old couples walk slowly together, teenagers arguing and then making up with a hug. She didn't speak during those moments, but when they returned to their shared apartment, her questions became softer. Why do people forgive so easily? Why do they cry during weddings? Why do humans stay, even after pain? Eli tried to answer, but most of the time, he just said what he felt, because it's worth it, he'd say, because love doesn't always make sense. Vala would write everything down in a small black notebook. Her science had started turning into something more. One afternoon, Eli came home to find her in front of the mirror. She was wearing one of his old shirts, too big for her, and had tied her hair back in a loose braid. He raised an eyebrow. New look. She nodded. I am attempting to understand human attraction, clothing, hair scent. He chuckled. You look ... good. Strange, but good. Vala didn't smile, but her eyes softened. I feel strange, she said, but not in a bad way. That night, she cooked again. Not burnt eggs this time. She had followed a video tutorial. It wasn't perfect, but it was edible. Eli took a bite and grinned. Okay, you win. That's actually good. Vala seemed to brighten just a little. I analyzed 400 recipes and selected one with a 92% approval rating, from human males aged 22-25. Eli laughed. You could have just asked what I liked. I wanted it to be a surprise. That word surprised him. Surprise that was new. She was starting to feel something. Not just observe, not just analyze. She was trying. They sat at the table. Together, not as roommates anymore, but something closer, something warm. After dinner, Eli pulled out an old record player. He placed a vinyl disc gently and dropped the needle. Soft jazz began to play. Vala tilted her head. This is music. It's a feeling, he said. Try to feel it. Don't think, just feel. She closed her eyes. For a while, she didn't. Move. Then, slowly, she began to sway. Eli joined her, reaching for her hands. This time, her movements weren't stiff. She followed his lead, not as a student, but as a partner. You're getting better, he said softly. She opened her eyes. I am not calculating the steps. I am just ... following you. They moved in small circles around the kitchen. The music wrapped around them like a warm blanket. And then, for a brief second, she leaned closer. Not too close, but just enough. Eli's heart beat faster. She stepped back, her expression unreadable. Your pulse rate increased, she said. It does that sometimes. He replied, smiling nervously. I think mine did too. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Vala said something that took him off guard. I no longer wish to understand human love through observation. He waited. She continued. I want to feel it, from inside. I want to learn what it means to miss someone, to hope, to fear losing them. Eli's voice was quiet. That's not science anymore, I know. She walked toward the window again, her usual spot. The stars were out. She stared at them, but her mind was far away. I read a poem yesterday, she said. A human one, yeah. It said love is not finding someone perfect. It's seeing an imperfect person perfectly. Eli nodded. Read that one. Vala turned to face him. Do you think I am imperfect? He looked at her, tall, strong, alien, strange, but also curious, brave, learning. No, he said. You're different, but not imperfect. For the first time, she smiled without force. Not wide, just enough. A soft curve of the lips, natural. I think I understand now, she whispered. Love is not one action. It is a series of small choices, every day. That's exactly it. She nodded. I want to keep choosing, but not for research, not for a report. He looked into her eyes. What for, then? For me. The room felt still, no music, no questions. Just two beings from different worlds, standing together, learning to feel. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He didn't feel watched. He didn't feel confused. He felt something else, something dangerous. He was starting to fall for her. And she might be falling too. He turned to look at her bed. Empty. He got up quietly and walked to the window. She was outside, standing barefoot on the grass, looking up at the sky. He joined her. It's late, he said. I needed air. He stood beside her. They looked up together. Eli asked, Do you ever miss your home? She paused before answering. I did. But now, ... I don't know where home is. He nodded. Maybe it's not a place. Maybe it's a person. She looked at him. Not with science in her eyes, but with something else, something real. And in that moment, under the stars, Eli knew she was no longer just his alien roommate. She was something more. The days felt different now. There were fewer questions, fewer notes, fewer science drones floating around the apartment. Viela still studied, but not from data. She studied from life, from walks in the park, from conversations at the cafe, from laughter, from silence. And from Eli, their connection had deepened. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was comfort, warmth, something neither of them had planned, but both had quietly chosen. Every morning started with tea and music. Every night ended with stargazing and long talks. But peace never lasts forever. One afternoon, while Eli was on campus, Vala received a message. It came through her wrist device. Encrypted. High security. A symbol blinked on the screen. A circle split in 3. Yelari command. Her eyes narrowed. She stepped into the bedroom and locked the door. She pressed the screen. The message was short. Subject 47. Hormonal variants detected. Return for examination. Immediate. She stared at the words. Her hands were steady, but her chest felt tight. She didn't reply. Instead, she deleted the message. But the next day, it happened again. A new message, then another, each one more direct. You are not authorized to remain in human territory beyond limit. You are displaying non-Yelari behavior. Report for testing or be retrieved by force. She sat alone for a long time. She had always followed orders. She had always trusted her people. But now, her heart pulled her in a different direction. Later that evening, Eli came home, carrying a bag of snacks and a new movie for them to watch. He found her sitting by the window, not moving. You okay? She turned to him, slowly. I have to leave. The words hit him harder than he expected. He placed a bag on the table. What do you mean? Leave where? Back to the Yelari base. They believe I have changed too much. They want to examine me, test my body, study my mind. He stepped forward, confused. But, you're not sick. You're just, learning. Vala looked down too. Them, learning emotions is a disease. Eli sat beside her. Then, don't go. Her voice dropped. If I don't go willingly, they will come for me. He felt anger rising in his chest. Are you some kind of experiment to them? Is that all you are? I was, she said. But now I don't know what I am. He reached for her hand. You're not a project. You're not a number. She didn't pull away, but her hand trembled. I'm scared, Eli. It was the first time she ever said that. He looked into her eyes. You don't have to go back. We'll figure it out. We'll talk to someone, file a request, get help. They don't ask, they take. You know that. He stood up, pacing the room. Then we hide you. We run. I don't care what they want. You're not a machine, they can just reset. She stood too, slowly. There's more, she said. What? I gave them a sample, weeks ago. Standard testing. They detected hormonal shifts. Neural restructuring. They believe human interaction has ... infected me. Eli felt cold. Infected. Yes. They say I've become unstable. That my connection to you has altered my biology. He stared at her. Because you feel something? She nodded. Because I care. Silence fell between them. He stepped closer. What do you want to do? She looked up at him. I want to stay. Then stay. But if they come, I'll protect you. She touched his chest. I am not strong enough to fight them all. Then we'll run together. She hesitated. I'm not even human, Eli. He smiled softly. Love doesn't care. Tears formed in her eyes. I don't want to be a test subject again. You won't be. He pulled her into a gentle hug. She leaned into him. Not as a soldier, not as an alien, but as someone scared of losing everything she had just started to understand. That night, they packed a bag. Only what mattered. Clothes, tools, the small black notebook. And the photo Eli had secretly printed of them dancing in the kitchen, just before sunrise. A loud hum filled the sky. Eli rushed to the window. A dark ship hovered above the city. Silent, sharp, nothing like the peaceful shuttles Vala had first arrived in Yelari enforcement. She stood beside him, her voice shaking. They're early. He grabbed the bag. Then we leave now. They exited through the back alley, avoiding the street. The sky turned red as the sun rose. Shadows moved across rooftops. Drones scanned faces. Eli and Vala kept walking. He held her hand tight. She didn't let go. At the edge of the city, a friend of Eli's waited in a car. A hacker, a rebel, someone who believed in freedom for all species. He drove without asking questions. As they crossed the river, Vala looked back. The city was disappearing behind them, the place where she learned to smile, where she burned eggs, and danced in socks, where she first felt something more than duty. A tear rolled down her cheek. Eli noticed. He squeezed her hand. You're not going back to a lab. She nodded and whispered, "Thank you." He looked at her. For what? For giving me something to fight for. They didn't know where they were going, but they knew what they were running from, and more importantly, they knew what they were running toward, each other. The road ahead was long and quiet. No more ships in the sky. No more red lights scanning the streets. Just silence, wind, and the sound of the car tires rolling over cracked pavement. Eli sat in the back seat, with Vala beside him. Her hand rested on her lap, still, cold, but not trembling anymore. She stared out the window, watching forests pass by, watching rivers, watching birds move through the sky in gentle V shapes. It was all beautiful, and it was all slipping away. They reached a safe, hidden deep in the countryside. An old cabin. No technology. No signals. No cameras. Just firewood, quiet air, and peace. The rebel who helped them, Juno, left after an hour. She gave them food, warm clothes, and a promise. "I'll send word if they start tracking again. But for now, you're ghosts." Eli thanked her. Then the car disappeared down the hill, and they were alone. For the first few days, it felt like a dream. Vala cooked again, this time without burning anything. She started humming while chopping vegetables, though she had no idea what tune she was humming. Eli repaired the old radio, not to listen to news, but to play soft jazz in the evenings. Just like before. They read books by candlelight, sat on the porch during the day, shared stories they hadn't told before, and when it rained, they danced again. This time, barefoot on the wooden floor. No cameras, no watchers, just laughter. But even dreams have shadows. One morning, Vala woke up with a sharp pain behind her eyes. She didn't tell Eli. The next night, her fingers trembled while brushing her hair. She hid that too. But on the 6th night, she collapsed while chopping fruit. Eli caught her before she hit the floor. Vala. She blinked slowly, her skin pale, her hands cold. "I'm fine," she whispered. "No, you're not." He lifted her to the couch and covered her with blankets. "Tell me what's happening." She hesitated, then she whispered the truth. "When Yelari rejects orders, something happens." Eli leaned in. "What do you mean?" "We were created to obey, to follow logic, to avoid deep emotional conflict. If that balance breaks, the body reacts." "Reacts how?" Her voice cracked. "Some call it neurological collapse. Some call it soul fracture. I don't know the human term, but I feel it." Eli stood up, pacing. "So they made you incapable of choosing? They made us dependent on direction. We were never trained to handle deep, uncontrolled emotion." He stopped. "Then you, feeling love, that's hurting you." She didn't answer, but her silence was enough. Eli sat beside her. "I don't want to lose you." Vala looked at him with tired eyes. "You won't. You're breaking down, Vala. That's not okay." She touched his cheek. "My body is confused. My mind is afraid. But my heart is certain." He held her hand tightly. "There has to be a way. A cure. Something." "There might be," she said. "But not here, not hiding." Eli stared into the fire. "Then we'll find it. Together." Vala looked away. "I think, I have to go back." He turned sharply. "No, that's what they want. They'll lock you up, cut you open. I won't let them. But there's a Yelari station on the edge of Mars' shadow. It's run by the ones who left exiles. Rebels like me, more of your people. Yes, they broke away years ago. They studied human emotion, love. They believe it has power. They might help me." Eli stood. "Then I'll go with you." Vala shook her head. "You can't. Human life isn't accepted there. You'd be treated as a threat, or worse. I'm not letting you go alone." She placed her hand over his heart. "You already gave me everything. You gave me music, warmth, a reason to break the rules. But if I stay here, I'll die. Tears formed in Eli's eyes. This isn't fair. No, but it's necessary. He sat beside her again, holding her close. Promise me you'll come back. I will. Promise me you'll fight to live, even if I'm not with you. She rested her forehead against his. I promise. The next day, before dawn, Juno returned. She had made contact with the Mars rebels, arranged a transport route. One chance, no second trip. Eli and Vala stood by the old barn as the small ship landed. Cold air blew across the field. Viela wore a gray coat, her braid tied tight. She stepped closer to Eli. He held her, not as a friend, but as something more. I don't care if you're alien or human, he said. Just come back to me. She kissed his forehead. I will. She walked away without looking back. The ship lifted off into the sky, and Eli stood in the cold dot alone, for the first time since she arrived. The apartment felt empty. The kitchen was silent. The record player gathered dust. The stars still shined, but they felt too far away. He didn't cry the first night. He didn't sleep the second. By the third day, he started writing a journal, a video, diary, a message for her, in case she ever returned. He spoke to the camera, told her about the birds, about the rain, about how much he missed her laugh. Even if it was always 1 second late, he ended every video the same way. I hope your heart is still beating, because mine is. Then, one night, as he sat by the window, the old radio came to life, static, then a whisper, her voice, faint, but real. They said I was broken, but I remembered your words. I remembered love. He leaned forward, eyes wide. Her final words came through. I'm coming home. Vala's voice echoed in Eli's ears for hours. I'm coming home. It didn't feel real. He played it back over and over again. Each time, it sent a shock through his heart. A mix of relief, joy, and fear. She was alive. She was fighting, but that also meant she was in danger, far from Earth, near the edge of Mars' shadow. A hidden station orbited silently. It wasn't part of the official Yelari map. It had no code, no signature, and no laws. It was built by the forgotten, the rejected, the ones who broke away from the command. And that's where Vala had gone. Inside the station, she sat on a cold table, her skin paler than before. Wires connected her to machines. Monitors blinked, showing her brain activity, heart rate, and something new. A pulse of light, growing from deep inside her chest. She's changing, said one of the Yelari rebels. Another nodded. Emotion is restructuring her. Pain, love, memory. Her DNA is adapting, but the process is unstable. Vela opened her eyes. I don't care. I'm not going back to the old way. The rebels looked at each other. One stepped forward. You understand what that means, don't you? The Yelari command will consider you defective. A threat. I've always been a threat, she said. I just didn't know it. They offered her a choice. Stay, recover, stay hidden, or risk everything and return to Earth. La didn't hesitate. I made a promise. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Eli prepared the cabin. He didn't know when she'd return, or how, but he believed. He fixed the roof. He stocked food. He cleaned the old couch where they used to sit and watch movies, and every night, he left the lights on, just in case. But the Yelari hadn't forgotten. They had tracked her signal, and they were angry. A ship was sent to the rebel station. No warnings, no negotiations. Just a message. Return, Subject 47, or be destroyed. The rebels activated defense shields. They moved Vala to a secure room. You have to leave now, said the leader. La stood. I'm not running. You won't survive. I don't need to survive. I need to get home. The leader stared at her for a long moment, then gave her a small, stolen Yelari fighter ship. It's not much, but it's fast. and silent. Vela nodded once. She stepped inside the cockpit and flew straight into darkness. The Yelari warship followed her almost immediately. They didn't fire. They didn't warn. They simply chased. Faster, stronger, smarter. Vela dodged through asteroid belts, through electric storms near Jupiter's orbit, through black dust fields that could tear a ship apart. She was trained to fly, but not like this. Her hands shook, her vision blurred, her body ached from the changes still happening inside her. But every time she thought about stopping, she remembered Eli's face, his voice, his heartbeat. She whispered to herself, "I'm not doing this for science. I'm doing it for love." Back at the cabin, Eli stepped outside for fresh air. The night was silent. The stars were out, and then he saw it, a bright streak cutting through the sky, fast, glowing. His heart raced. He ran toward the clearing. The ship dropped fast, crashing into the field just beyond the trees. He sprinted through the grass, his chest burning. The ship door opened, smoke poured out. Then he saw her. VA, staggering, bleeding, but alive. She looked at him. "I made it." He caught her before she fell. "You came back." She smiled weakly. "I said I would." He helped her inside, laid her down, held her hand. "You're safe now." She looked up at him. "No, not yet. They followed me." Eli froze. "Here, yes, high, above the Earth." The Yelari warship broke orbit. It scanned the planet, located the crash site, and prepared to strike. But something was different this time. News of Vala's return had spread. Juno had leaked the truth online, the story of a Yelari who had fallen in love with a human, who had changed, who had chosen her heart over her orders. It went viral. People across the world took to the streets. They held signs. "Let her love. She has a right to feel, not just a subject. She's one of us." Eli watched it all on the old radio monitor. Tears filled his eyes. "They're standing up for you," he said. Va blinked. "Why?" "Because humanity knows what it means to fight for love." The Yelari ship paused in orbit, their screens filled with broadcasts. Humans holding candles, humans singing, humans crying. The Yelari officers hesitated. Then, for the first time, a single voice from the command ship spoke. "She has become more than what we made her." Another officer responded. "She is not Yelari anymore." "No," said the first one. "She's something greater." Back at the cabin, the lights flickered, then went still. No attack came, no soldiers landed, just silence. Then, Vala's wrist device blinked. A single message appeared. "You are free." She stared at the words, barely breathing, then looked at Eli. "It's over." He smiled. "No, it's just beginning." That night, they sat by the fire. Eli held her hand. Vela rested her head on his shoulder. The stars above no longer looked far away. They looked like a promise. She whispered softly, "I was made to follow commands. You don't have to anymore." She nodded. "I know, because now I follow my heart." The next morning was quiet. No alarms, no messages, no warships in the sky, just the sound of birds, wind in the trees, and a faint crackle from the fireplace. Vela stood on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. Her body was healing, slowly, but her mind felt clear for the first time in days. Eli joined her with 2 cups of tea. He handed her one. Smiling, she took it carefully. Warmth flowed through her fingers. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then she said softly, "Something inside me has changed. I can feel it." He looked at her with concern, still hurting. She shook her head. "No, something else. Before, I thought emotion made me weak, but now I feel stronger." He smiled. "That's what being human feels like. You carry pain, but you also carry hope, and love, and the will to keep going." Vala turned to him. "I thought I was just a failed experiment. But maybe I was never broken. Maybe I was just waking up. Eli took her hand gently. You've always been more than what they thought you were. You just needed someone to remind you. She looked down at their hands. I still don't understand everything. I still feel things I can't name. But when I'm with you, it makes sense. That's enough. Later that day, a global message arrived. This time, it wasn't from Yelari Command. It was from Earth's Interstellar Council, a broadcast that reached both species. The screen lit up with the face of a human ambassador, standing beside a diplomat. The ambassador spoke first. The events of the past weeks have shown us something rare, something beautiful, a truth that goes beyond politics, beyond science, beyond biology. The Yelari stepped forward. We have seen one of our own choose emotion over order, and instead of breaking, she became more. The ambassador nodded. We are proud to announce the formation of a new alliance, not just for peace, but for emotional integration, for freedom of identity, for love. The screen changed. Photos appeared, images of Vala and Eli, their story, their journey, their love. The world watched. Yelari watched too, and slowly, across 2 planets, something began to shift. Old laws were questioned, old fears were softened, and, in place of silence, came understanding. 1 week later, a council gathering was held. For the first time in history, humans and Yelari sat in the same hall. No weapons, no bodyguards, just voices, and hope. Eli and Vala were invited to speak. They stood on the stage together. The lights were bright, the room quiet. Eli stepped up first. He took a breath. When I first met Vala, she scared me. She was different, tall, silent, always watching. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But over time, I saw something else. I saw someone trying to understand a world that had never welcomed her emotions. Someone brave enough to ask hard questions, and someone strong enough to feel things no one had taught her. He looked at Vala. She didn't fall in love the way humans do. She learned it, built it, fought for it, and that makes it even more real. He stepped back. La stood still for a moment, then she spoke. My people were designed to survive, not to feel, not to hope, not to love. She paused. Eli showed me another path. He showed me that the heart is not a weakness. It is a compass. And for the first time, I followed mine. She looked across the crowd. I am not fully human. I never will be. But what I feel is real. I want to live in a world where that feeling is allowed to exist. Silence. Then, slowly, a human council member stood, clapped one by one. Others joined. Then the entire hall stood together. Applause filled the chamber. Not just for a speech, but for a choice, for love. That evening, back at the cabin, Vala and Eli sat by the fire. No cameras, no questions, just them. She turned to him. I never told you what I felt when I thought I wouldn't make it. He looked at her gently. What? I didn't fear death. I feared never seeing your face again, never hearing your laugh, never feeling your hand in mine. He squeezed her fingers. You don't have to fear that anymore. She leaned in softly, slowly, and kissed him. Not as an alien, not as a student of humanity, but as someone who finally understood what it meant to love. When they pulled apart, she whispered, I am not a machine. I am not a mission. I am not a mistake. He nodded. You're Vala, and you're mine. Months passed. The cabin became a home. Visitors came from both worlds. Journalists, scientists, curious students. Some wanted answers. Some just wanted to see if it was real. It was La started writing, not research papers, but poetry. Simple lines, quiet thoughts, feelings she once couldn't name. Eli started building. He designed a hybrid communication device, inspired by her voice, a translator that worked through emotion as much as language. Together, They built a bridge between species, not with machines, but with love. One night, as stars filled the sky, Vala stood outside again. Eli came up behind her. "What are you thinking about?" She looked up. "Back then, I thought the stars were cold, distant. Now they feel warm." He smiled. "They haven't changed. You have." She turned to him. "Do you think there will be more like us?" "Maybe. But even if there aren't, we'll keep showing them it's possible." She nodded. Then she said something he never expected. "Humanity is not what I thought it was. I believed you were soft, chaotic, weak." He raised an eyebrow. "Thanks." She smiled. "But now I see the truth." "What's that?" "Humanity feels more than any species I've ever known, and still chooses to love, even when it hurts, even when it's hard." She took his hand. "That is not weakness." He looked into her eyes. "That's what makes us strong." And with that, they stood together. Beneath the stars, two hearts from different worlds, beating as one.